All right, we're good.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Untitled Board of Education to order. And all the members are present, so let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item B, discussion of vote to approve or not approve the minutes for the previous meeting, July 13th. Motion to approve. I'll second. Okay, Stemo. Aye. Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Hoffman. Ms. Walker. Okay, C, discussion of vote to approve or not approve the monthly financial reports.
This month, this is Sabrina Garner, our new director of finance. This report from now on. She's been kind of rushed into the role this month, but she's done an awesome job. Quickly, still has a lot of stuff to do, but she's been amazing so far. And everybody's been very helpful, all the other directors. So we're very fortunate to have her in that spot.
So we'll start at the top, the general fund. Our cash balance is $2,623,77, or sorry, $2,623,077.52. Right now, our co-op fund, as you can see, is negative $11,186.11. You guys will be approving for us to move money from the general fund to co-op. What happened was there was some outstanding checks that we didn't know about. And so in order to clear those, we will move the money back from general fund back to co-op. Building fund, $828,505.84 in building fund. Bond fund, $2,560,000. Sinking fund, $156,538.47. That's a total $6,156,935.72. Activity fund, right now, the balance of it is $859,623.21. Our CDs are looking pretty good, even though the interest rates have really dropped a lot on those. We still have $257,103.85 in those.
Any questions on that portion? Mrs. Thompson. Mr. Meyer.
I was just gonna say thank you so much for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. What they have been doing for us. Wish you all the best. Great job.
Thank you.
Mrs. Thompson can't be with us tonight for the child nutrition report. But on number 4, I will just mention we do have to raise the prices of the adult meals this year. This comes from the federal government. We have to have that price equal to what the reimbursement rate would be. So we don't really have a choice on that one. But that's something that we need to see as well.
I have a question on the child nutrition deal. Are we back to our normal basis of wanting to move with the school to the line, or we're not doing staff lunches now? Or what?
We're going to have a lot of breakfast in the classroom at levels, but normal lunch in cafeterias.
With the normal times like we had before.
Do we need to vote on those things separately, or can they all be grouped in the city?
You normally.
Okay. Okay.
You can do it with the exception number 3 if you like, but you're typically not approving anything.
Okay.
Whatever you feel like.
Do I have a motion on C?
To approve C 1 through 4.
I'll second. Okay, do I have any discussion? Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman? Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo? Aye. Okay, and aye. Principal Director's Report.
I've asked Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Mashburn, just kind of give a brief update on the back to school. Mashburn will have a few more things to go over with the secondary. But then next month, we'll have the principals come in to kind of give you the full update on the first month of school, now back to school. Since we don't start till Thursday. So,
I said brief because I'm going to be brief. I'm gonna try anyways. Once I start talking, that sometimes flies out the window. But we have had a super busy summer, as you know. We've done some really great training with all of our admin staff, and with our principals. Been able to meet with instructional coaches this summer, the principals, start looking at all of the practices that we have at the elementary level. Hired new coaches, like a new tech coach, because we lost one, so we gained a new person in that role. And are just really excited about aligning our programs, streamlining the things that we're doing, and making sure that it's just what's best for kids and best for our teachers. So super excited about that. On our numbers, we have 138 at Sequoia, so we have 7 full classes, and right now we do have a few on the waiting list, but we're kind of waiting to see what happens on Thursday to see if they'll really show up, and then we'll see where to go from there. We have 425 students at Cherokee, 502 at Greenwood, and 482 at Heritage. The 2 big grades that are up, we're up 27 kindergartners right now from last year's time, and we're up 41 fourth graders. Not sure where they're coming from. They're coming back from being gone from a year of virtual, but the numbers were a little different. Spent today with all the principals as they talked to their teachers. Today, Tuesday, that was yesterday too. Both days in the school. Kind of runs together right now, but just want to thank you for letting me do this new job. Super excited to be in the buildings and to see parents and teachers, and I have just had a smile for 2 days. Mr. Ashlock asked me something about something else a while ago. I was like, oh yeah, I've had a great day. He's like, well, that's not what I'm talking about, but thanks for letting me know that. Really excited about what we have to offer in our elementary schools, and we have the very best people. Just tell you about one thing that I saw this morning at an activity at one of the buildings. So we're really working on relationships. And something we learned yesterday was Maslow before Blues. It was one of the big things of our gentlemen's, the speaker's topics. And this morning at Cherokee Elementary, I witnessed a activity, I gotta tell you, that probably kind of really brought me to, like tear up, I'm not gonna lie. So they had posters all over the cafeteria wall. And on those posters, they had pictures of all of their students. And they literally had taken the yearbook from last year, scanned every page in, cut them all out and made it into different papers and had their pictures up around the room. And then she explained to them, she was talking about the importance of relationships, and then she gave them all little round stickers. And everybody in the room was to go to and find all the students that they had a real relationship with. Not like a fist bump in the hallway, but like, I know you, I know your family, I know where you come from, I know what makes you tick. And every staff member did that, and she said, when we're done, we're gonna know where we need to start. We're gonna see those babies that we have holes with, that someone doesn't have a sticker on, that someone's not formed a relationship. And this evening I learned that after the teachers did that, because they didn't know they were going to do it, they were like, hey, we can't let this go. They wanted that up in their staff room, wherever they have extra in the room. And through the year, they want to make sure that every one of those kids are getting more dots because more relationships are getting formed. And I just thought that was a perfect way to really kick off this year. And it was just one example of the great things I saw today. Not sure that's what I was asked to talk about, but that's what I did because you gave me the podium. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Mashburn.
Guys, hope everyone's doing well. I'll start with middle school, just a little bit of a report. I'm going to start from summer school. They average 60 to 70 students daily. They focused on reading and math. They did a pre and post test and saw a little bit of growth in those academic standards that they worked on. They did gardening, yoga, and some other SEL curriculum, so they did a well balanced. And they were just half day unless they stayed in the after school 21st century, and a few of those did stay. This next year for the electives we'll be offering, we have a new preventionist that's going to focus on SEL curriculum each 9 weeks, having different 6th, 7th, and 8th graders come through in those elective times. They're going to be talking about some conscious disciplines strategies that they're going to work through with students, SEL curriculum that we have. Some of the things that we learned when we just came from our retreat is talking about, how to take a moment to breathe and to really breathe, showing them how to take 3 deep breaths, getting their mind smiling. That's really hard for me. I try to smile and people are really upset. No, it's just my face, you know. I'm trying to do it. But anyways, you know, the research says that if you're smiling, you go into it, that thinking part of your brain, and it helps. So just different strategies that they're gonna work with students on, you know, that you've got this, everything's okay. You know, just some of those things, those coping strategies, since they've had, you know, the trauma that they've been experiencing with the pandemic. And so we also have a new math interventionist. We were able, with the money that we had, to add a math interventionist. He will work with students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It will take the place of one of their electives for 9 weeks. He will mirror what they're doing with the Oklahoma Academic Standards, so they'll get a double dip. We did this years ago, and we finally been able to do this, and it's very successful several years ago. And so this time, his platform will be BoardWorks. We also purchased that program, which is online, and it will be with, it just has all the lessons inside of that program. They will use that, so it'll be a different approach and a platform. And he's also in the STEM lab, and he will end up connecting STEM activities to this. So like if they do math so many times a week, maybe the next week they'll apply all those to the different STEM equipment that they have. So we're really looking forward to that. We also are we have the reading interventionist, which is Read 180. They do 2 in 8th grade below, that the kids are on that bubble right before being proficient. And then this particular teacher is going to do 3 reading interventions. So we're excited about that. So that's how we're going to kind of address some of the academic loss that we've had, or maybe not loss because they weren't even there to get it, just, you know, restructure and see where we're at. Also in their PLC times, they're going to be doing, they have common time where they can plan. They'll be looking at examining test scores, and they will be forming common formative assessments and trying to see where the gaps are, where they need to start, what they need to get in 7th grade math. And now they're in 8th, so they're going to have to go back. So they're working that way. Central has really changed. We have a new director, that's Sherry Gaunt. So we have her as a new director. We have a new secretary there. Her name is Maui. She's there with her. We have also 2 new teachers that have added to that campus. We have 2 that left. We have a new counselor now with that Council Corps grant. So they have a lot of really exciting changes that they can all melt together and make, you know, a new environment for kids with some new leadership. We're going to have a lot of life skills, reconnecting youth programs, and some other things that we're going to work with. At the high school, this summer we had a credit recovery, and we had about 82 students, and that's huge because here recently we have only been having maybe 10 students that have ever had to have that with what we experienced last year. A lot of our students were very unsuccessful when they went the virtual route. So in order to gain those credits back, we have about 82 students. 86 courses were recovered, and they only had 4 days a week, you know, just for that month of June. We have still, I asked this, I said, how many do we still have behind that we're trying to catch up? And it's between 30 and 40 students that they're going to focus and target on. They're going to catch them up through independent study and credit recovery. They're going to hook them up in Boys and Girls Club afterwards to get someone to help them. Some of those might be old school candidates, because we did have 2 seniors that did not graduate, that did not complete, and we're going to try to get those back with those 2 seniors into the alt side. Freshman orientation, they just had freshman orientation August 6th, and they had 250 students that came to freshman orientation. It was half day. Through Gear Up, we have a program called Meet Crew, and it trains leadership styles for, we have 3 teachers. We have Jennifer Lynn, which is counselor, Ashley Wade, and Heather Taylor. They go to the training and they train juniors and seniors. So these juniors and seniors, they came, they did some whole group things, then they started breaking out into small groups, and they were assigned maybe 10 to 12 kids. They made a group me chat with their 10 to 12. Jennifer Lynn said they're already texting their junior or senior leader saying, I'm reading my schedule, I don't know what this means. So that just thrills me. It's like they really have a connection already, and they feel like that's, you know, really nice to have that. We do have a new council with that grant that will be added there, so that's going to help Lacey a lot and work in the SEL part and the care team. And then our careers and internship class, we weren't able to have it last year. We are reinstating that. We don't know about internships until second semester, but we have a secondary English certified teacher that's going to kick that program off. We're going to have a huge emphasis on writing resumes, filling out applications, interview skills, bringing in actual people from different businesses to talk to those students. So we're excited about that, and then we'll just see. We know right now that the health professions won't accept interns, but we're going to work for that for January, the second semester. And then I have 2 more topics to talk about with the high school. I'll start out with graduation date. On our calendar, we are going to need to change the graduation date. It is May 13th. It interferes with the state athletics stage, if any of our kids make state. So that was an oversight. So Lacey is going to survey, when school gets started, her senior kids and the senior parents. We checked with NSU, and there are 3 dates around that area. They may not be the best dates in the world, but these are the dates. Wednesday, May 11th, Sunday, May 15th, or Monday, May 16th. Any of the other times before or the week ahead are regional, so it doesn't work out in those times. So Lacey will put out the survey to senior parents and to seniors. We'll get a good idea, and we'll bring it back to you in September, at the September meeting, so we can go ahead and try to get that out there for parents. That's us saying that we're having graduate, we don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic, but we're saying just to get that date set up. Our second thing is high school is wanting to move to a Late Start Friday, starting with August 20th. We do not have at the high school, so you may have 10 in a department, they do not have common planning time. Maybe only 2 of them do, and the other 8 are somewhere else. So they don't have that opportunity of a common plan where, 1 day a week, you might meet in a PLC, and 4 days a week you're on your own plan, like the elementary. But with middle school, there's a different structure for them. We really feel like it's important to get a hold of tests, scores, curriculum, look at things, see where our gaps are, and make those, have that time. So we check TEA, Lacey, they're here today just if you want to hear the statistics. They did survey the teachers, and so they may want to tell us, what that is, that we want to move with that on August 20th.
We're able to structure that in a way to where it's not going to affect buses.
Right.
Kids can still get.
Kids will have a place to stay if they're
It
not.
won't change anybody or cause any hardships.
Right.
How late to start?
Talk to us.
How late to
Times.
start?
So Monday through Thursday, kiddos would start school right at 8 o'clock and first hour would end at 8:55. On Fridays, we'd ring the bell at 8:15 and class would start at 8:25. So it'd be 25 minutes shorter on Fridays for first hour only. But we did add 5 minutes to first hour Monday through Thursday. So it's a little bit longer, and it's not 100% foolproof. Not everybody was just, yes, let's do it, but everybody does want a late start Friday of some sort. And we did agree on our survey that that was the best idea with what we have.
Will
And
you share your
so,
percentages?
say it again.
Will you share your percentages?
Absolutely. So we surveyed our staff, 87 people did the survey. And the question said, are you in favor of having late start Fridays for PLC time? Teachers would need to be ready to work at 7:40. PLC time would be from 7:40 to 8:15. So that's 35 minutes for teachers to be able to plan together. And then they would need to get to their room and get started because we would want students to begin class at 8:25. So it would be very structured. They would have to have their agenda ahead of time and be ready to work right at 7:40. This says the first bell would ring at 8:15 on late start Friday. Students would need to be in their seats ready to learn at 8:25. Out of the 87 people, 61 said yes, 8 people said no, and 19 said maybe. The next question said, if we decide to do late start Fridays, do you favor having first hour shorter on Fridays so that the rest of the day could stay consistent? Because sometimes it's hard to have a crazy Friday. So we were asking, would they want that first hour to be shorter on Friday, even though it's a little bit longer on the other days. 66.7% said yes, 19.5% said maybe, and 13.8% said no. The other question said we could do it another way. We decide to do late start Fridays. Do you favor changing Fridays so that they would all be equal? You know, you could change your bell schedule on Fridays so that all of the classes would be equal. But actually, help me see that, Chuck. 50.6% said yes. So more people want it to stay consistent on Friday and just make first hour shorter. 30.6% said no, they didn't want to do that. So at the end of the survey, most of the people in the building would really like to have late start Friday as PLC time and to keep the bell schedule consistent and have that first hour shorter on Friday. So we understand we would have to plan for it, you know, and make sure that we use our time wisely during the rest of the week. So I wish we had another way to do common plan. It may be out there, I just haven't found it yet. We'll keep researching other schedules and seeing what other people do, but with what we have right now, it's the best that we can think of. So.
Sure, teacher TA perspective.
Yeah, probably important for us to understand what is PLC, professional learning communities. There are 4 principles that got it. What do we want kids to know? And then the second one is, how do we know if they know it? Third one is, what do you do when they don't know? And then what do you do when they do know? And without the ability to meet with other English 1 teachers, without the ability to meet with other Algebra 2 teachers, you can't have that agreement. We do have a 7 days built into our calendar, it has to PLC time. Where the math department is, I would say, is we have pretty good cohesion on the what, so the first tenet. We have decent cohesion on the how are you going to know, the common assessments. Those really need some more attention. We really need to be doing a better job on that. But the responding to it, we just don't have it anywhere in our schedule to look at that. Say, what did they do? Where are we doing well? Where are we not doing well? What do we do to respond to? So what we saw in these results was our folks understand the need for having collaboration with one another, and they're willing to sacrifice that time on Friday morning, students, not impacting the rest of the day. And it will be a challenge, especially if you teach a first hour classes, you've got it somewhere else in the day, it's the same course. This group is going to have to really make use of those extra 5 minutes, 20 minutes total, Monday through Thursday, which in the classroom we know doesn't offset. So that's going to have to be communicated with our students. It's really it's a priority for us, especially with the challenges we faced last couple of years, and maybe somebody facing this year as well. We need to be together in teams, talking about our students.
We've had late start days in the elementary school for some time. I don't know about middle school. Do they have it at middle school also? And I remember that we had it on Monday, and then they decided they wanted it on Friday and so on. But the high school wasn't involved with that. That late start at that time.
We had it too.
You also had it too. So that I don't understand why this is new. This is a.
It's not necessarily new, we're going back to the pandemic. Kind of got away from it.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just letting you know the changes that were taking place compared to last year.
And it shouldn't inconvenience any parents per se, because they could still drop off and the kiddo could still go to the cafeteria if they needed to do that. We would just spread them out while they're in there. And then a lot of our students drive. So we thought that would be okay. They could stop by and get their donut, I guess, on Friday morning. I don't know. But it shouldn't hurt anyone. Or I hope it wouldn't.
So Monday through Thursday, first hour, extra 5 minutes, okay. Yeah, 20 minutes. I have a question. How many alternative certified teachers have we hired for this school year?
Oh, I know currently we have 22 on staff.
Okay, for the whole district.
for the whole district. This year is probably in at least 15, 16, and some are alternatively certified. They went to the boot camp for special ed. So you don't have to emergency certify that, they have a provisional for 1 year and they start working. But it's within several this year.
Thank you.
And let's start, is that, obviously, we're not voting.
We're not changing our calendar.
Because of the start time?
Not necessarily on,
Because it doesn't change. They
No,
just-
the teacher's work stays the same.
Okay,
Set
okay.
40%. That's how we use that.
Superintendent's report.
okay, first thing. I just laid this out for each one of you. This is just a copy of what we posted on our website, also Facebook, start over that. Just the two things I just kind of wanted to hit on, because they're all just a hot button topics. Number one, mask in school. As it stands right now with Senate Bill 668, the governor's executive order, that he comes out, emergency. We don't have the authority to mandate staff wear a mask, and also vaccination. Mandate vaccination. There's a lot of discussion. We do have a discussion. Discuss some what ifs as far as that goes. But where we sit right now for the start of school on Thursday, absent any action from the governor, legislature, that's where we're at. So as far as I understand the concerns, but you have to follow the law. That's where we're at right now. Another big change on the COVID contact tracing portion. We will still do all the contact tracing like we have in the past. We'll still notify the parents. One big change from the health department, they will no longer require quarantines for contact. They will recommend quarantine for contact. Previously, we would have a list of kids who were within whatever the 3 foot, 6 foot for X amount of minutes. We would get that list together, call parents, the health department would give us a letter, and we would have that back from the health department to enforce that child or that staff member to do a quarantine for X amount of time. As it sits right now, the health department is not going to enforce any quarantines for anything other than a positive person. We will still notify them, we will still tell them, there will still be a recommendation. If a doctor tells us they need quarantine, we will abide by it. Cherokee Nation, we go to Hastings, and they tell them they need quarantine, we will abide by that. If the parent wants to quarantine their child, we will allow them to do so. I just think the only issue that's going to come up is if that parent who says, I am not going to quarantine my child, they're not tested positive. I think that's when the issues for schools are going to arise. How often that arises, I just don't know. We haven't been in that situation yet. Last year, we had the backing of the health department to say, you have to quarantine if they had an issue with it. We say you're welcome to call the health department, and they give us that backing. But as it sits right now, that's no longer the case as far as COVID. So until something changes, governor of the state or the health department, those are the two kind of sticky areas that I see for this year. So, and again, they are what they are. I use that term, but that's kind of where we're at as far as that goes. Back to school, just kind of want to hit on a couple of things. Our PD this week, our staff came back yesterday. We started the morning off in the PAC, and I do want to thank and make sure you also know as well, we had a good partnership this year with the California Chamber of Commerce. Nathan Reed, the new CEO there, he reached out to us and Ms. Ashburn, and we sat down with him and kind of ran with an idea. He's listed a lot of businesses within town. They had a little Price is Right game show at the beginning of the PD yesterday, and they had a lot of donations from local businesses. All in all, he said they gave away about a little over $3,000 worth of different prizes to our staff there. So that was a neat way to start the morning. He got McDonald's to provide breakfast, Starbucks to provide coffee. So he's been an awesome partner this year. Taking that partnership with him in different areas throughout the year, but I do want to mention it. Nathan Reed. So I do want to make sure we publicly say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. That's a relationship that we look to keep building on from there. So it was an awesome thing for them to do. Staff got together in the afternoon. We had a speaker come in Warford, hours. Today, we had PD at the sites, and tomorrow as well. Staff will get together. School will start on Thursday. We'll be welcome kids back to our buildings. We'll see what the year brings from there. A couple years ago, I thought we had a pretty good grip on what this year would look like. That turned quickly, so we'll be prepared to adjust as we go along, see what happens. Enrollments, I also put a turn off for you on the current enrollment as of today. Just a little grid document like that. I'll just kind of bring your attention, you can just look at that first column, so the grand total. Look down today, the difference from last year, we're up about 142 kids total enrollment. You can see that it takes you across every grade level there. The children there last year at this time. So good news, we're getting close back to where we were prior to the pandemic across those levels. Not such good news at the secondary level as, you know, we found out their athletics, we moved up to 6A. But as far as our other levels, we do see us kind of riding back up to where we were. But then again, this year, we'll see where we go from there. But that's our current numbers now. And as we know, the numbers that count, we're all October 1 count numbers. So we'll be watching those closely. These are our enrolled numbers. You know, we don't know who will actually show up. So as we go through August and October, it'll be interesting to watch those numbers and those trends and see where we go.
Did you say that the high school is moving up to 6A? Is that in all sports, Matt? Is that in all sports?
We'll find out tomorrow at 9.
It's still not.
It's still not done.
Okay.
Depends on who you talk to. The problem is on their board of directors, they have 16 different board of directors, and getting them to vote a majority is going to be hard. So the easy thing for them to do is follow what they've always done. But there's a lot of different schools that are arguing, hey, we're moving. Some schools are moving down a classification and don't want to. They want to stay up. So once the final numbers come out, if they petition to stay up, you can't have more in a that'll bump people down. So we're not going to know other than what the OSSA decides to do. Depends on what day it is, how I feel about it. Like some days it's good, and they're gonna freeze the numbers from last year, or use October's first quarter numbers, or certify the numbers that were given to them last week. And it kind of depends on who you talk to and the conversations that are rolling. I talked to Dr. Sean McDaniel at Oklahoma City Public Schools. He's the president of that organization for the OSSA, and they're kind of in the same boat as us. They're moving down, and they're in Oklahoma City, and they're like, there's no 3A schools around us. Where our travel is going to be exponential, and they want to stay up. And so, kind of rambling here, but they're going to vote on it tomorrow. I think there's 7 in favor of freezing the numbers right now of the people I've polled. So they need 2 more people. So best case scenario for us would be freezing. If they use the numbers that were submitted from the State Department, we will redistrict in football and for next year. Baseball will be for this year. Cross country, volleyball, and basketball will be this year. Golf will be everybody will be this year that doesn't play districts.
So it'll affect our scheduling of who we play and so on.
In district play, yes. If there's districts, yes. If not, we'll continue to play in our Metro Leagues conference until playoff time. So the new districts they proposed, there's going to be a lot of travel. It's Oklahoma City a couple times, Stillwater, Bartlesville, Ponca City. So it's a mess, but hopefully we'll get good news tomorrow at 9. That's the first thing they're going to vote on, and see.
Actually, I remember what's going
Oh, and we are from where we were a year ago, and when the numbers came out, we were actually down 25 students. So you move down in students and move up in class. And Midwest City and Dale City, which is Middale District, they're saying they lost 200 students at each school. talked to some other people's numbers are kind of inflated because they re-enrolled this summer. So the numbers that they have aren't right. And so talking to Sean, I said, sometimes the easiest thing or the right thing to do isn't the easiest thing to do, but I don't know what to do. So
Public to be heard. I need you to state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm Deborah, Deborah Jensen, JPNSEN, 704 Jeffrey, here in Tahlequah. And I appreciate this opportunity to speak to the board and people that are here. I'm a retired psychiatrist. I've been in this community since 1997, serving in this community, county, and the surrounding counties. So I have a vested interest in children and their education. I sent 2 girls through the public school system here, and I'm now sending an 8-year-old grandson that we've adopted through the school system. And I'm really quite overwhelmingly concerned about the resurgence of COVID-19, and I'm very glad to hear that you all have this on your agenda and you continue to keep track of that. But we are still in a pandemic. And at this time, over 90% of people with COVID-19 have the Delta variant, which I'm sure you're all aware is much more virulent, much more contagious, quicker onset of some more severe illness, and getting younger people. So those are all things that we need to keep in mind. The average age of people admitted to the hospital now for COVID-19 is 20 years younger than it was with the original surge we went through in last summer and winter. And it's affecting many more pediatric patients than previously. Pediatric intensive care units across the country are full with seriously ill children, many of whom are on ventilators. And that is not good. Additionally, most adult-life intensive care units in hospitals, and the hospitals in general, are filling or are full. They're turning away patients. They don't have this, they can't find the staff to take care of the ones they have because so many frontline workers are burned out. So we're heading into a real serious situation here, and it's that way in this state as well as other states. Tulsa is reporting they're full, and their school system is making some change. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure Mr. Ashline, that you have access to that information. So, and sadly, only 35% of eligible Oklahomans have been vaccinated, which between that and masks, that's how we get out of this mess. So I'm aware of the legislative action that was taken. I believe the bill was passed in May, prohibiting the school districts from requiring masks. I don't understand that. I don't see the reasoning, but it happened, and that's what we all have to deal with. I will say that, in my opinion, personal freedom begets personal responsibilities, and we need to think about that. Vaccinations are required to enroll your child in school. Seatbelts are required by law. You suffer consequences for driving in a manner that's unsafe and endangers others. In the not so distant past, people had to show proof that they didn't have syphilis in order to get a marriage license. Tuberculosis patients were legally homebound until they were considered cured. And American history is replete with other examples like this of public health crises and concerns. In fact, I heard on National Public Radio today that George Washington reported that more of his soldiers were dying of illness that they couldn't be treated for than the environment, starvation, or being killed by the enemy. So in other districts in other states, they're moving against the legislation that has occurred. Florida has a couple. I think Arkansas had some until their governor changed his mind. But if you listen to reliable news, you hear about many of them. And I understand that we're not there right now. And I'm not here to try to convince you to do that, although that is at the top of my wish list.
The only idea I could come up with was somehow incentivizing children and staff, faculty to wear masks. Students could get coupons maybe for the school stores or a taco at Taco Bell. They're pretty well known for giving out coupons to students. Maybe teachers could be given a professional day for every month of mask compliance. I don't know what the possibilities are. But if we can't require, maybe we can incentivize. Because as Dr. Fauci said this morning, we need to put a wall of protection around our children that are not old enough to be vaccinated. And if, teachers in elementary school are down face to face with their kids. That's how they teach it. We're left with few options as parents. Distance learning is only available at the high school this year. Other homeschool options, number one, are not good for special needs and special ed students. They definitely require hands-on learning. And homeschooling requires a parent available to be there to do it. And this is not a very rich county. We have many families that have two working parents. So that really puts a hardship on them as it did last year. So I know this is a difficult problem, and I appreciate the position that you all are in, but we have to stay away from making it political to the best of our ability. It's a public health crisis. We want to protect our children, their parents, and our community. And so any and everything that we can do to that end, I believe, is what we need to strive for. And I'm happy to help in any way I can. I don't know that I can, but or what the options are there. But I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. And I see that it's on the agenda for later, and I'm glad to see that. And I hope that you all will keep your eyes on the rates of infection in the schools among the students and the faculty, so that if changes have to be made, we can go to the legislature or by email the governor on almost a daily basis. I'm sure it's getting kind of bad, but that's okay. I'm trying to pandemic, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jensen. Item G, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following surplus.
Six.
Six of them,
Yep.
1 through 6.
and I'll second that.
Okay. Mrs. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Mrs. Kaufman? Aye. Ms. Walker? 8 and I. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following bids and quotes.
We just discussed this prior. We just have to have $2 million worth of roof work throughout the district. Companies have to consult, but that needs to be addressed with that. So it's a combination of that process. So $2,020,216. Cost. General fund or so that's for fund. So we feel that's where we use that money. Couple that with our bond issue that we'll talk about later, allow us to basically provide an improvement at 99% of our sites throughout the district. So we're asking you to approve those goals.
I don't think I'll complain about the cost of putting a roof on my house.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve each one.
Second.
Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Mrs. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. Consent items, business items, consent docket, vote to approve or not approve the following.
I move to approve items
Yeah, they're just
I'll second.
I have a question. I don't know if anyone here has an answer to it, but on the supplemental service contracts for the first, band instruction. Know exactly what that is? And are they talking about instruction for certain instruments? Are they talking about supplemental things for
It's all
marching band?
over there. There will be marching, there will be choreography, there will be individual instruments. He seeks out individual each year, specific talents.
So you negotiate a contract with these individuals at a certain price, or is there a price that's fixed to that, or how?
Yes, he negotiates that each month.
Josh does.
And we lost a band instructor. We used to have three,
I'm sorry,
one
can-
just recently resigned.
We just lost a band
Just like that.
instructor and
Yeah, I saw that, we did middle school, right?
Right, but they were really high school. They're all together at the
Yeah.
high school.
This will also allow us to help. At this point, we can't find the qualified replacement for that. It's more than full-time.
So where did you say that money comes out of? You said Josh negotiates.
On some of the individual skills, he'll pay for those, some of the other ones, the district pays hourly rate.
So Josh pays for out of what? Out of his?
They raise money for that.
Okay.
any other discussion? Ms. Walker? Aye. Ms. Kaufman? Aye. Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo? Aye. And I. J, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the final read of the following handbooks, manuals for the 2021-22 fiscal year. Is there any discussion?
As I was going through those, I noticed that there were some that were highlighted. I assume those are the only parts that were changed or
Right.
deleted.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Nemo? Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman? Ms. Walker? Okay, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the Riley Boat Ride Act for Tahlequah Public Schools.
That's Coach Buck, we here today, just kind of walk us through this. He's done all the work on putting this together. This is required by the legislature last year. So I'll just kind of let him give you a brief overview and any questions that you might have. Mr. Cloud, if you don't mind.
You want me to stand up?
Yeah, however, doesn't matter.
We used, the State Department gave us a template on how to do it. We had a similar, before it was a law, we had a, like an emergency action plan, which was a little bit different than this. This added more maps. This got EMS involved. The hard part for us, where we had to work with Northeast Health Systems. The hard part is you've got the country schools, you've got Sequoia, you've got Keys, you've got Holbert, so you couldn't have a dedicated ambulance every night. So we had to, a lot of meetings with them of getting our schedules on the same page. We do have a dedicated one for football games, more interest there. They're usually there for soccer, but they do, I wouldn't bring the man's name, 'cause it's brand new. We do have to kind of, our athletic trainer checks in with him. Today, we are playing tonight. And they have our map. The new part of this today was the map, or this year was the map. We didn't have maps last year, which sometimes, like, we don't have a physical address at the baseball softball field, so we have to put a map on it. But our chain of command for our athletic medical emergency certified athletic trainer, me, the administrator, the head coach. And you can go through there. I don't want to bore you with just reading it. Really, the role of our responders is the same on all of them. The athletic trainer will be at all home events and most away events. I don't know what else you would want to know, that I just would be regurgitating from reading it. But we do have a good working relationship with Northeast Health Systems. They've been awesome to work with, and anytime they can help. I think sometimes they do have to leave. That's part of the deal. They might come to the softball game even if they weren't scheduled to be there, but they'll come and they may have to leave. But sometimes it's a good partnership because they come watch the games. We usually give them a drink or some nachos, and they're good with it. So Any questions you have on it?
Well, then my understanding is the Riley Boatwright Act is specifically about having medical care available at any of our athletic activities.
Correct. And that's really what it is. And we do have AED machines, and we've got the athletic trainer portable AED machines. So even when we go on the road, we don't have to worry about that if the other school doesn't have it. We have one in the TMAC. We have one in the turf room. And then he has this portable one that he takes with to track or to middle school football with.
Yeah, questions? So basically, you just added maps to the plan you already
This year's
had.
revision was maps. And in a way, the best way to get there. Because like you said, the TMAC, there's 100 different ways to get there, but the best way for an ambulance would come down like sheets in the back door where they can get right on the floor instead of trying to fight the traffic in the front. So, and part of that, we have to dedicate a person when the ambulance is called, they have to meet them at that designated entrance that we put on the map. Each entrance or each facility has a designated X where we have to meet them. So like softball would be in the right field, there's a double gate. We have to have somebody there waving them down. Doc Wadley, same way, they're over in the corner. And but that's kind of our athletic trainer helped us with that. He's done a lot of the legwork on it. I just put it in the paper and had a conversation with folks in EMS.
A designated route for the ambulance
Yes.
and person.
Yes.
Them, just setting up, firming up the plan.
Right. And we kind of go over it. We go over with the coaches. Actually went over today with them about this. Like there's an injury and there's not an AD or assistant AD there. Be in charge, be the lead, you may be the flag man at that point. They have to know their point for their facility.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Okay. Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman? Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And aye. Item L, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the adoption of the following policy.
And this is a policy required by state department. Policies. Association. So that we can always, CRT. If you put on Google, it's not. Side of that, with specific questions, management. Yes. It's not really something that they have an option to approve it on.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Is there any discussion?
Before we vote on this, I know people, I think, saw a lot about this in the media. I think the policy was actually written very well, regardless of some of the politics that we saw about this. When you heard what the law was and what the policy was, and when actually read it, it was really different. And I understand that there are still approved curriculums that have some of the history that people were afraid couldn't or wouldn't be taught in Oklahoma schools now because of this. It doesn't, because of it, for example, the Lake Massacre or allotment of Native American lands and some of those things that are still will be covered, are covered, and they're not prohibited by this. And I think it's important for folks who have political concerns about this to read what the actual policy is, because I think it's written very clearly and very well, and it, I think it protects students. I think it protects teachers as well. So.
Anyone else? All right, Ms. Nemo.
Aye.
Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman. Ms. Walker. And I. Item M, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the amendment revisions to the following policies.
This is an amendment to our student drug testing. Again, I'll vote tonight as well. There are changes on that.
This It's not as difficult, not as many changes. Me and Ms. Mashburn got with the school attorney, Karen Long, and she kind of walked us through it. The hardest part that we're going to face this year, I'm anticipating, is the medical marijuana card. We had a policy that we didn't like, so we had to reread it, and we were totally wrong from what we thought she said in person. But we've gotten it. The hard part on this, again, will be chasing the medical marijuana card, because you don't want to put it on. There's on the form, you list what medications you're on. I fully anticipate the first couple of weeks, they're going to write, I have a medical marijuana card on there. Nobody at the school should know that until there's a positive test. And when I talk to the parent, then they disclose that, and they'll have to have proof of it, right? They'll have to show proof at that point. I think some misinformation gets out there that we pick exactly who we test. We have nothing to do with it. We have the list of names that goes to Northeast Health Systems. They send us the names, we pull the kids, and the only one that knows they're positive is me and the kid. If they're in athletics, which they would be in athletics or an extracurricular, it's on them to tell the coach if they want to. They're not required to, and their parents. Obviously, I call their other parents, and you get a wide variety of how the parents take it when you call and tell them their kid had a positive drug test. So I think, yeah, there's counseling. We were going through Jimmy Lowe. Now we have Pre-Oaks. It's going to come on and it's still going to be the 4 hours of drug education. And I think, and I really wholeheartedly believe this, going back to drug testing this year, which we didn't last year because of the pandemic, it gives kids an out. If they're on the team, sometimes there's peer pressure if you're out and about and, hey, I'm going to get tested Monday. I'm not going to do that. It helps the kid make decisions based on if they want to play sports or they want to be in the band or they want to be in choir or speech and debate. And we had a problem last year because we didn't, and they knew that. But really, there wasn't a lot of changes. We kind of just cleaned up some of the language, and the biggest part was the medical marijuana piece.
Thank you.
Not with Northeastern Health System before.
We have been for the last 3 years. We just opted not to test last year because we didn't know what it looked like, and some kids were virtual and some weren't. Some were participating and some were quarantining. And, so we opted not to test the whole entire year. But they're good to work with. They've made it really easy. It's very affordable for us to continue to use it. And I think we're going to ramp it up, and we're probably going to test, didn't we say 5 more than we did in the past, every week, to help middle school and high school, just kind of better some of that. And I just think it's going to help give those kids a chance. Now, the kids that are going to do it, they're going to do it anyway. And but I think Lacey's got a new policy for drugs on campus that are going to help, and hopefully we get a handle on. We lost a handle on it last year just because they knew they weren't going to be tested.
Do I have a motion?
You said, remember the list, you send the list of all students who are in extracurricular activities to.
If it's an OSA sponsored event, yes.
You send the entire list to the drug test, whoever's doing the drug test, and they do the randomization and send back the.
Yes, using student ID numbers. So they don't even know. So it's a small town, say that somebody in the lab, like, I know that kid. It's just their number. They would have to know their student ID number.
I'll make the motion. Any more discussion? Ms. Walker? Ms. Kaufman? Mr. Myers? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. In discussion and vote to approve or not approve the schedule of encumbrances. I'll second. Discussion. Ms. Nemo.
Aye.
Mr. Myers. Ms. Kaufman. Ms. Walker. And I. Discussion regarding possible changes to masking policy dependent on legislative legal action.
I asked Leon to put this on, and I reached out to him when it looked like things were getting bad again, just to talk about our policy. And the way that, the policy that we already approved allows the superintendent, if certain conditions are met, to institute mask policy. And that is still our current policy, won't change. And the issue was, my question was, if there is legislative action, if there is a lawsuit, if the governor declares an emergency, any one of those things that would allow us, if we have to call another meeting, or would the superintendent be able to make the call? And we want to ensure he knows our policy is written would allow him to make the call if something happened with the current state law that allowed us to. And I wanted it on the agenda. I wanted to express my support for masks. I'm emotional because I have 3 that I'm sending to school on Thursday. They can't take a shot. And they have to go back to school. My kids have been home for 18 months. But I'm terrified that one of them is going to get sick. And I think if we can wear masks and we can lower the chance of that and help these kids. I think it's horrible. I think it's a horrible situation for us, for the superintendent, for the parents. We went to open house and my kids all wore masks, and their teacher specifically asked, "Do you want yours a mask?" And I said yes. And they said, parents tell us to tell them to keep their masks on. We can tell them that, but if they don't, we can't. And it was a mixed bag. There were teachers with masks, there were teachers without, there were students with masks, there were students without, there were parents with, and there were parents without. And I'm just really scared that we are heading in a direction that's going to be even worse than it was last year. I'm afraid schools are going to close again. I'm afraid kids are going to get sick. And I just wanted to publicly and on the record say that I support masks, and if we're allowed to, I will support our superintendent making the decision that all students and all teachers wear masks until we're through this. So that's what I want to say.
I'd like to,
Go ahead.
I was very happy to see that it was on the agenda for discussion. I appreciate the fact that you requested that. I have 6 grandchildren who will be in school, and I feel the same way. I'm scared to death. I noticed that Tulsa School Board sent out a letter to parents, a letter of, they said, an expectation that students, all students and teachers wear masks. And maybe that's not a bad idea for us on that. This is a huge and frightening issue, and I fear consequences might be severe if we just pretend that what's happening is not happening.
I'd like to say that I support what Christie and Mr. Walker is saying here. I'm fully vaccinated. I don't need to wear a mask tonight. I'm wearing one because I'm going to expect my student to wear one. I have an exchange student coming next year from Germany. He'll arrive Friday. He is fully vaccinated. So both of us are vaccinated. When I told him, when you go to school, you will wear a mask. No problem. We do it all the time. That's what we have to do. It's a mandate. Or it was until things started getting better now. And so I feel like I'm wearing the mask tonight because I'm going to expect him to wear the mask. And as long as there's a possibility, rare that it may be, that there's a breakthrough infection can occur. And probably the illness won't be as bad as if that does happen. But if he gets it and he brings it home to me, that's a concern. And I know that age 12, they're all eligible to be vaccinated, but also what I've read, percentage of those in that high school age group that are actually vaccinated is probably pretty low. And yet, and I know that there will be a lot of peer pressure upon him to not wear a mask on, that type of thing. It would be great if we didn't have that, if we just had a mandate, but again, we can't. So I'm gonna make sure that he knows that, that I expect him to wear one. And I would be really appreciative of me if I know that the staff, the faculty are also very concerned about that. So I support what you're saying. And I have a concern too. My concern is single years. So that's how I feel about it.
And I know that there are other states that have done this, and there are schools in those states. I think, first of all, I think our laws are a little bit different, but I haven't seen any schools in Oklahoma yet that are instituting mask mandates, so we know what the result is if we do that. That we get sued, we have to pay legal expenses, we can't enforce it anyway, and I hope that there is a change soon. The five of us are elected to make decisions for this community. We can't make that decision. That's been taken away from us, and it's not fair, and it is. Again, it's concerning that, and we know the kids can wear masks. They did it last year. We made them wear masks last year, and they did it. And even though I'm telling mine to keep them on, and their teacher said they would help, I don't expect that they will, because some of their friends aren't going to be, some of their teachers aren't going to be, and it's just really, really difficult. So I also know that there are a lot of parents out there that don't want their kids wearing masks, and that is a choice to make as a parent. I talked to a relative of mine and said, I make my kids do things they hate every day. I make them eat vegetables, I make them go to bed on time, I make them take baths when they don't want to, because I'm their parent and that's my job, and I'm going to make them wear a mask. And again, I wanted to say publicly that if we get to a point that we are allowed mask mandates, that I will be supporting that.
Me too. Thank you, Chrissy.
And I'll just kind of touch on that, but it is our policy place to do that. If we get to that point where it's an option, I'll just be quite honest with you, I don't want to call a special board meeting at that time. Especially the principal and your director who believe that that's what the board wants. It doesn't mean to just be me saying what you're going to do, because it's not a reason not to do it, but it's going to be unpopular. So it'll have to come to the board, and that will be my take on it when we get to that point. We'll follow it closely. If something happens to that extent, go from there.
Item P, discussion and possible vote on bond amount and election dates, and setting a special board meeting to approve.
Okay, with the pandemic, several things in the last 2 months, I got pushed back this month, so we're just kind of here to visit about this tonight. Robert, if you would pull up the slideshow. And you have a handout as well. That you're looking out there. We've already been through this before, showed this one, so just kind of refresh your memory. We polled the community, polled the staff, started out with a very large list of things that we looked to narrow it down to the most important things that we saw. You go on to the next one. The two main items throughout this would be the renovations of two of our elementary schools. As we know, we have one fairly new, which is Heritage, which was built on the last bond issue. So this is just kind of a rendering of the front of Greenwood. Once we get to that point, we'll have much better, posters and photos of what everything will actually look like. Just a rendering of the front. If you go to the next slide, this is the specifics on Greenwood. All hall repairs, canopy, paving and driving. The biggest part would be adding a proposed addition, which would be a music classroom, multi-handicap classroom, and 2 sped classrooms. This would also double as a storm shelter for the site. Total cost of Greenwood Elementary Addition would be a little over $4.3 million. We'll go to the next one. This is kind of the rendering of the front of Cherokee that we looked at, which is relocating the front entrance next to the current cafeteria on the front side. Go to the next one. This breaks down what we're looking at doing. You can see the entrance change there, which relocating the administration offices and receptionists, and we covered front entry, new set of bathrooms as well on the main entry there. And then also it'd be renovating the old cafeteria there to a new library, a new media center with a reading area, also a new nurses area, with washer and dryer, showers, and things like that. Those students there. On to the next. This is just, I just left all the options in there, so you remember this was our looking. We looked at expanding the current high school. This is just the addition there, which would also double as a storm shelter. Go to the next one, please. And this was a little over $4.8 million. This would have 4 classrooms in the presentation area. This one we kind of, we'll talk about the 9th grade center as well. If we're looking at doing that in the future, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to, add this there at this point in time. So that's why when we get to the end, I'll kind of talk about those options. Go to the next one. Another big item that we have there is an indoor athletic facility, which would be near the baseball softball complex. This will be available for all our sports to use. If you go to the next slide, kind of gives you a drawing inside. The majority would be batting cages, softball areas, and offices. Go to the next one. Again, this is kind of our rendering. We purchased the land on the other side of the baseball softball complex. One of our thoughts was the 9th grade center there. Kind of where we find ourselves now, what I'm going to recommend, if you go to the last slide, please, Robert. Right now, it's just looking at numbers at both the middle school level and the high school level. If we build a new 9th grade center, it's very, very possible in 3 or 4 years we would run out of room at the middle school and then get in trouble. I just think with the unknowns of COVID and what our enrollment's going to continue to be next year, the year after, I mean, we may need a combined junior high and middle school model, so I think we just need to take some time and look at that to make sure that we made the right decision, that 15 years from now, we haven't worked ourselves in the corner and have to do something else. So this page here represents what I'm asking the board to consider, and we're not going to officially do this tonight. Basically, I'm just kind of asking your permission. Do we want to go forward with this, or would you like to see something else? Basically, how this breakdown, I just highlighted the two optional things there, the high school and the new grade center. You can see the total cost for Greenwood is a little over 4.3. Total cost for Cherokee, a little over 2.3 million. The indoor facility would be a little over 3.7. We have a new turf field at the track, a little over 1.1 million. We're incorporating $500,000 for new technology throughout the district, $750,000 for transportation. We will break that down to exact expenditures if we get to that point, the number of buses, the number of vehicles, the number of Chromebooks, the number of everything that will be in that. It's kind of for number of purposes, we'll be heading on that. Then also we'd be including a little over 1.1 million for district-wide renovations. The majority of that would be used for the current high school flooring, windows, walls, renovating some classrooms, some upgrades of the PAC, sound and lighting, different things like that. And again, we would have those specific projects mapped out before we actually vote on the bond issue question. Now, on this one, 14 million. Basically, what would it be going out for the total bonding of $17,345,000. Out of that bond amount, we would have $14 million. Which shows for the construction projects that we do it for. The rest is the bond service costs and everything that you have to pay. This particular package would not raise taxes as they are. It would still give us the flexibility because it's a shorter bond term to come back in 3 or 4 years and try to pass another bond issue on top of that for our whatever expansion we saw needed for a middle school, high school, whatever that may be. just think this gives us flexibility. It addresses our current needs. It brings all our elementary schools up to par with each other. And we couple this with the ESSER funding. I've taken some of the roof work out of this and moved into the ESSER funding, that $2 million that we approved. So now with this bond issue, with the ESSER funding, basically we would be to do improvements at every site in the district minus Heritage. I hate to say that, but the last bond issue was the majority to build Heritage. It is our newest facility, so they don't have the same needs as far as repairs and aging facilities in the other places. So this would literally touch every facility throughout the district in one way or the other, whether it's just a new roof, the middle school will get an entire new roof, and different roof fixes throughout the district. So to me, this is a safe way forward to address our current needs as far as passing the bond. We're in a difficult political environment. I think to be able to do all these improvements and keep taxes the way they are, nothing changes going forward, would be easier sell for the district at this point in time. If we did look to do the bigger option right now, it would be about a 6.5% tax increase to build the ninth grade center. And if we track out our valuations growing throughout the years, so I think we'd be able to come back in 3 or 4 years and at least be at the 6%, if not lower, to be able to do the same project later on. So I think it would set us up. These things are generally done in phases. We view this as phase 1 or district improvement. And then 3 or 4 years down the line, we can look at phase 2, whether that be ninth grade center or a couple of 8th and 9th grade center or whatever that might be. And then also the other concern with the ninth grade center at this point in time would just be the staffing. It's hard to get teachers. It's hard to plan for all that. So this would give us more time to make sure we're not rushing into a bad choice just to do it. We'll always have the land. It's lots.
Have we paid that land off? Or what's the loan time right now?
We're in a lease purchase. I
Yes.
think it's 5 years.
Yes, we started out on a 5-year lease purchase. I'm trying to remember how many payments we had at this point, but it's not completely paid off at this point in time.
So it might be good to wait. I mean, if we had, once we had that paid for, it'd be a better sell also. I think. Right.
So basically what we're looking at, election, February election.
Yeah.
That's the date that. the
Yes,
board's-
February the 8th, we would have to have our resolution in by December the 9th. So we'll have I mistakenly put on the agenda the need for a special meeting. But if you guys are okay with that path going forward, next month we have that resolution ready. Architects and construction companies have this more detailed as far as what every single project will be on renovation and everything like that. Get bonding company on all the exact costs and everything. But this one thing I do know for sure, this will be no tax increase regardless. So basically that's what I'm asking.
Just a continuation of.
Yep, it will just continue what's in place right now.
Are we paying for this election or are we
We would have to pay
tagging
for
on
it.
something?
That amount,
It's gonna be roughly $6,000. About the cost of ballots have gone up a little bit. It's 5,900 and something, but the
Okay,
Roselle girl down there told me that the cost of ballots had increased a little bit, but she said 6,100 should cover it.
so again, that would be February the 8th. Get all of the resolutions ready to prepare that next month for meeting. We still have several months out there. So we would have some public meetings and discuss the options, give the public time to ask some questions. But everything we see on here is the true need in our elementary schools. And Cherokee, we need that attention. Talked about the 6A athletics. We need to improve those facilities. Whether we stay or don't stay right now, we all know that we're heading that way eventually. So that will be important for us, the turf on the field, use for our programs, and also the community, our youth football team as well, our band practice. So it would just hit a lot of areas within the school. Anyway, that is a package that I worked up.
How are we paying for architects? How is it coming out of our?
That will be part of the, we're bonding for 7.345.
So they're doing this.
Yeah, their cost is worked into all of this.
And so they're gonna do this on anticipation it's gonna pass.
If it doesn't pass, we don't know. They'll provide all the materials, all the drawings. There'll be a presentation, anything we need them to do. And if for some reason it didn't pass, we don't know at all. That's part of our original.
Proposed addition to the high school, so that's 4 additional classrooms. I know we talked about this before, we're kind of maxed out there now. Those 4 extra classrooms, does that meet the need that we have for?
That would be expected.
The addition is not.
Yeah, the 2 highlighted items. are-
Okay, sorry.
Because at this point in time,
Because
I mean,
choosing
we
between.
just don't know
those
which
two,
one
right?
we're drawing.
Okay,
And in 2 years, we were building 9th grade center, and now we've added on to the high school. Not to say that we can't always use the space, but just trying to be the best steward of money we can. So,
And we go 4 or 5 years without additional classrooms. I mean, we'll have
Well,
to,
we
right?
have, and we survived this point, so I think we'll be there. I think suffering through that, if it's an issue, would be better than making the wrong decision, making the wrong $19 million decision, or the wrong $5 million decision.
Mr. Pack is already accustomed to teaching in the gymnasium anyway.
Do I have a motion? Okay, I think you have to make it for. That's what you have to say.
Direct the superintendent to prepare a resolution for $17.3 million bond issue in February of 2022.
I approve to direct the superintendent to,
Move to do it, right?
I move to direct the superintendent to set forth a bond election for $17.2 million, $17.3 million. February 2022 election.
And again, even a yes vote on this tonight doesn't make it happen. It's not set for election. I have to bring a resolution to you next month. And that's what we'll be coming.
Do you have any discussion?
Well, I thank the superintendent for all of the time. I think it's really.
Ms. Nemo.
Aye.
Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman. Aye. Ms. Walker. And I. I needed a motion to go into executive session.
Executive session.
Ms. Walker. Ms. Kaufman.
Aye.
Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Mrs. Nemo.
Aye.
And I. I'm just gonna hang here.
Would you first stay here?
We have to stay here.
Give us the room.
I know Tanya wants to go get a big drink of that KFC.
I said I was gonna
It's following me?
Yeah.
Nice, that's what I need.
We're gonna come out of executive session if I have a motion.
Move to, come out of executive session.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman? Ms. Walker? And I. Board's president, statement of executive session minutes. We discussed negotiations with TEA, TESPA, and meet and confer agreement, took no vote. Now on T, vote to ratify or not ratify the negotiated agreement with TEA for 21-22 school year.
To approve the negotiated agreement with TEA for 2021 school year.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman? Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. Vote to ratify or not ratify the negotiated agreement with TESPA for the 21-22 school year.
To ratify agreement. That's the-
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. B, vote to approve or not approve meet and confer agreement for administrative supervisory personnel for the 21-22 school year.
I vote to approve the meet and confer agreement for the administrative supervisory personnel for the 2021-22 school year.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
And I. W, motion and vote to approve or not approve personnel items W1 through W6.
I move to approve personnel items W1 through W6 with the following. Misty Tatum, Heritage Special Care Para. Vanessa Willard, District Personnel Specialist. Amy Spears, Greenwood Second Grade Teacher, pending certification. David Stillman, District Board Certified Behavior Analysis. Dale Sanders, Transportation Bus Driver. Sarah Hicks, Cherokee Certified Teacher. Melissa Korn, Cherokee Elementary Teacher, pending certification. Sina Hayes, Cherokee Special Care Para. Cassidy Spears, Greenwood SEL Para. Stephanie Kelly, Greenwood Certified Teacher. Valerie Olson, Greenwood Certified Teacher. Gay Stone, Heritage Certified Teacher. Addison Bowler, TMS Counselor. Lori Wilkie, TMS Language Arts Teacher. Christy Young, TMS Music Para. Melody Barrow, THS Teacher, pending certification. Sheila Yulin, THS SEL Para. Karen Arnell, District Activities Fund Specialist. Dana Combs, Central Certified Teacher. Kelly Cushman, TNS Special Care Para. Hannah Grimes, Greenwood Literacy Para. Catherine Ketcher, Sequoia Para. Joe Knight, THS Teacher, pending certification. And Victoria Gleason, District Enrollment Specialist.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
And I. We do have one item under new business.
We have a PO, the vendor backed out of a prior approved PO. Agenda was done before the PO was ready as a replacement. So tonight is approving that new PO for the plumbing work for the baseball softball field.
Move to approve, is it 40 plumbing,
Yes.
for a turnkey bid of 30,000? And the new PO number 11 hyphen 380.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
And I. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Kaufman? Ms. Walker? And I.
You're not gonna answer yourself.